State 66-17 win over Maryland. And I'll just say that, like, I was, well, first of all, I think after Ohio State's first drive, where they converted several third downs, and then they had the pass to Garrett Wilson on the fourth down on the last play for a touchdown. I felt like that was huge to start out the game. I think if they had to like punt in that situation, it could have been a different game. I think that was a really momentum stealer. I mean, because like that's kind of really deflating for a defense to feel like they're so close to stopping the best offensive in America, but they can't even stop them when they have, several opportunities on third down and fourth down.
Yeah.
And then, just besides that, this was I was really getting 2014 vibes during this game. Like it really seems to me that in the past few weeks, each week they've really been improving. And I think it's even made an impact nationally because I heard like Trevor Maddich and Paul Feinbaum, they mentioned Ohio State in their top four. Although Paul Feinbaum, he didn't have Ohio State in his top four, but he put them as like a kind of right on the outside looking in his rankings. But I mean, Ohio State's kind of getting back in the national attention, in the national scene right now with Alabama's loss. And I mean, I think things are looking bright when they weren't a few weeks ago. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that I share everyone's optimism just yet. You know me, I'm the perennial skeptic. The last two teams they played really aren't that good.
Yeah.
Maryland is a little bit decrepit. Some of their DBs are out, so they're using a lot of second stringers, so they're not full strength on defense. The defense looked better and better. I think they're getting the zone thing, but the very first drive, Maryland drove right down the field. So Urban talks about the last 5 minutes of the first half, or the first 5 minutes of the second half. I think there's a little bit also correlation to the first few minutes of the first half, what happens in that series. And we always seem to get a bit of a slow start, make adjustments, and do better, which is okay. But I don't know how that translates. The meat of our season is now coming up. We played sort of the lower level Big Ten East. We're coming upon some tougher opponents, so we'll see how that translates. You'd like to believe that this is a momentum and better. I think the announcer, Heward, kept pointing out how C.J. Stroud is just throwing the ball with more confidence just before the break of the receiver, so he's seeing the game. I saw several passes in the middle of the field, which he hasn't made before. He's getting better. I haven't seen a lot of the overthrows anymore. And of course, their game plan seemed to me to stuff the box, stuff the run, and then make CJ beat you. Well, if CJ has any kind of a day, he's got the three best receivers. He's got the best receiving core in the country. And that kind of showed. So, I think the improvement is good, both offensively and defensively. But I think we'll see what that translates to in the coming weeks, because you got to remember these are still 18, 19-year-old kids. So, what disappoints me, though, is the love you see for the SEC. And, of course, my gripe of living here in Florida in the heart of SEC. I think the pollers and the damn AP voters all love Alabama. So Alabama, number one, loses to an unranked two-loss team in Texas A&M, who arguably is probably one of the better two-loss teams in the country, but they lost to them. We lose to Oregon, who is in the top 10 at the time we play. And we drop, 7 steps down to like 10 or 11 or 12, 11. Alabama goes to 5. I think that's
Yeah.
BS. That's the SEC love. So
Yeah, maybe. But
I detracted a little bit. Sorry.
no, it's good. It's an interesting point. I mean, yeah, it is just Maryland. But I think everything you wanted to see in this game is what you did see.
Yeah,
and
true.
at the beginning of this game, they're talking about how in the Iowa game, Talia didn't play well, and they're kind of setting it up for maybe this week's going to be better. He's got another chance on this kind of stage. And at the beginning of the game, when they were talking about that on the broadcast, I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe this is the week where like we kind of see the Ohio State defense detract a little bit, because I mean Maryland has some skill guys. Talia has inherent talent that's there.
Of course.
I was kind of like expecting that a little bit, but we didn't see that at all. I mean, I thought the defense played. I mean, the defense played well, and the offense was pretty much perfect. So I mean, we thought everything you wanted to.
Yeah, and they got that Mumford and NPF and Dwan Jones combination on the offensive line that's really coming together, and they just really look good. I think that offensive line, the only developing position is the quarterback, and he's developing fairly quickly. I think he was freshman and offensive player of the week this week in the Big Ten.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really impressed with Stroud. I think maybe we mentioned this before, but yeah, I remember in 2019 when Justin Fields had arrived, there's a lot of hype, but there was also a lot of skepticism about this is a guy who's
right.
He's only made a few starts, or only made a few like passes, in collegiate play, and while he was at Georgia. CJ Stroud came in with less experience than Justin Fields did, and I think that there was just coming right out of the Justin Fields era, there's so much expectations for him. Where I mean, I think it's completely valid for him to have some early struggles, and they weren't, I don't think, major struggles. I think the most he struggled against was in Tulsa, but. I think it was completely okay for him to have some early kind of bumps in the road before he got it together here.
Sure. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, if we end up with a shootout like this Oklahoma-Texas game, I don't know what it'll be if CJ and the offense has to score, kind of thing. But he's got to thank his lucky stars, because he's just got a hell of a offensive line, tight ends, receiving core. Travion Henderson has turned out to be one of the better backs in America. He's got one of the best play callers in the country, guy who can read a defense and know how to pick it apart. I mean, Heward pointed out on defense that Maryland tried some things that worked for Oregon on the weak side of the field, and we covered it much better this time, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
And then, Kerry Combs got the game ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he has bought so much loyalty and respect from the team, because he has, without hesitation or whining and complaining. He has stepped back and let Barnes do the play calling, and continue to do what he can do, whatever it takes to win. And I think that's earned him a lot of respect from the players. So I think the players were very excited that he got the game ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever Ohio State fans think of Kerry Combs, I think you have to be at least a little grateful for him, because I think almost any other defensive coordinator in his situation would not have done the same thing, or wouldn't have done it in the way, with the grace Kerry Combs did you said, the side. I think of like the last time Ohio State's defense was bad was 2018, and I don't see like Greg Schiano doing anything like that in that situation. So I mean, yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe he's growing into the position. Maybe, we don't know what happens behind the scene. This single free safety, 3 man-to-man coverage, aggressive defense that Ryan Day has insisted we do, has kept some D coordinators who don't share that philosophy away from wanting to be a part of this. And maybe Barnes wanted, was saying to him, look, I think this is what you need to do, but if this is what you want to do, we'll continue doing it. So when they made the switch, Barnes, and of course Barnes had some experience with play calling. So and of course they were dapping Brian Hartline. I mean, his receiver room is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But you see that guy? Who was it? That guy that left that went to Alabama? He had a pretty good game.
Yeah. I heard someone saying. I mean, he does look good right now. He does look good, but I mean, he seemed like the only one who's catching that ball in that game. But Jameson Williams. But someone was saying, was it during the broadcast that Alabama's best receiver couldn't start at Ohio State?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense. So I think that's something Ohio State fans should take pride in.
And they were saying that up to date, Chris Olave has the same average gain yards catching as the Dotson at Penn State. But Chris Olave is one of 3 options for the court, 3 very good options for our quarterback, whereas Dotson's the only option.
Right. Yeah, it's nice that the kind of duo of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave has now turned into a trio. Jackson Smith Njigba has really kind of like shown up on the scene like consistently now, and he's kind of made himself that third guy. Let's see if like maybe the tight ends can get some more. I want to really.
Rucker's starting to get some time in some rows. So
Rucker really.
G. Scott last week did.
Right. I want to see
another tight end that got some.
Stover.
Yeah, Stover.
Yeah, I want to see one of these big games, just Rucker, just really break out. I know he's had some good games in the past, but I want to see him be like the number 1 receiver, just really get a hot hand in one of these games. But and I would also like to see a guy like Mbuka really just have a hot game. I don't know if
Ubeka is really making a claim to the receiving, being the punt returner and kickoff returner. He had a really good game.
Yeah. So they were mentioning on the broadcast, Ohio State hasn't returned a kickoff since Michigan in, I think, 2010. Mike, I have a question. Will Emeka Mbuka be the next kickoff return for a touchdown at Ohio State? Whether
Either
it's
he or Garrett Wilson.
do you think does Garrett Wilson also return kickoffs?
Good question. I don't remember.
He just returns punts, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think Ubeka Ubuke, I think it is. He's starting to. He, I think, by the end of the year, will at least have run back one for a touchdown.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean,
if people are scouting us, they're going to look at it and say, "God, you can get the ball away from that dude."
right. Yeah, because he's getting. He seemed to, he had that 167-yard return for a nice return there. Yeah, I mean, if he gets more and more comfortable back there, I mean, watch out because he was looking really fast back there. Yeah, let's keep going.
I agree. Yeah, it'll be fun to see. I mean, there's a lot of excitement right now, so we'll see what happens. They give them 2 weeks to rest a little bit. I think Indiana and Tom Allen could probably put up a good game plan defensively because they do have some good defensive players, and it'll be interesting to see how CJ and company handle it.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Yeah, so do you think Indiana will be a game?
If Michael Penix is out, I don't think it's as much of a game as we thought. Yeah, okay. He's been out with an injury, so I don't know that he's going to return.
Okay.
So if he's not returning, he was our big nemesis. I don't know that it'll be that tough. But, right now, the Buckeyes have always played better with a chip on their shoulder. And that loss and disrespect they're getting just builds their, drive and resolve to prove something. And when you got that, these kind of talented guys, look out.
Do you think Ohio State would have made the defensive changes it did if the defense still looked really bad, but they won against Oregon?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I disagree. I think I think in college football, people don't change unless they lose. Like losing is the ultimate motivation for change and just the ultimate Urban never changed unless he lost. Urban never changed unless he lost. Yeah. I mean, Ryan Day's different, but those are major changes he made. So I don't think he would have made all the same changes if they would have somehow won. If Garrett Wilson caught that ball and they scored a touchdown and then ended up winning that game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the weak side defense was a big deal. So, and looking back at the film, I'm sure he felt that the play calling needed some help. And of course, he's got young guys who are still learning their positions. So,
yeah, I don't know. I think it could be a situation where if this season turns out the way Ohio State fans want it to, like everyone could be looking back at that Oregon game and saying it was really a blessing. I mean, we'll see, but
yeah. I would agree with that.
I mean, compare that to like Alabama, who's, I mean, they're in the meat of their schedule now, and all of a sudden, they have all these problems that come up, and I think it's a lot harder to make a change like that in that, in this time of the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, since you're on Alabama, let's say we run the table, we go 12-1 or 11-1 and win the Big Ten championship over Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And both Alabama and Georgia run the table and play in the SEC championship,
Mm-hmm.
and Alabama wins. That'll
Mm-hmm.
give Georgia one loss.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll both make the college football playoff over the Buckeyes? Remember, you still got
No.
Cincinnati out there. You still got Oklahoma out there.
Yeah. I think if Iowa continues to look at it, I think if they're undefeated for the Big Ten championship game, I think there's no chance that a non-champ passes Ohio State, a one-loss Ohio State team.
Even if it's Alabama.
Even if it's Alabama. I mean, if Iowa gets a loss in there, I think there's more of an argument. But yeah, I think there's no chance of, because I mean Iowa right now is they'll probably they're going to be number 2, right?
They're number 2.
I mean
Georgia, Alabama. I mean Georgia. Who'd you just say? Iowa, Georgia, Iowa. I thought Cincinnati and Oklahoma. I don't know which is 3 and which is 4. Alabama, then us in the AP poll. And then Michigan's right behind us.
Okay.
I mean, they're giving a lot of love to Iowa. Iowa beats Penn State by 3 points against their second-string quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to naturally move up because they are number 3. Alabama lost. But I mean, they won that game, and that they beat the number 4 team in the country. You gotta reward them for that. But yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see that game end with Sean Clifford in the game. I think that would have just made it more entertaining for everyone. But yeah, that's unfortunate for Penn State.
It sounded like a real defensive battle.
Yeah. But I think I think if Ohio State continues to look the way it does, I really think there's no way they're going to be left out of the playoff. Especially with Oklahoma looking the way it does, like Oklahoma is not looking very good right now, so maybe Oklahoma would be the one left out. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yes, it was interesting. Of course, I didn't watch it, as you know. I had gone golfing, but just getting bits and pieces of it. But I noticed that it was 35-10 at halftime. I'm like, oh my God, this thing's over.